America's chickens are coming home to roost. Every public service of worship I have heard about so far in the wake of the American tragedy has had in its prayers and in its preachments sympathy and compassion for those who were killed and for their families, and God's guidance upon the selected presidents and our war machine as they do what they do and what they gotta do. Payback. There's a move in Psalm 137 from thoughts of paying tithes to thoughts of paying back. A move, if you will, from worship to war. A move, in other words, from the worship of the God of creation to war against those whom God created. And I want you to notice very carefully the next move. One of the reasons this psalm is rarely read in its entirety, because it is a move that spotlights the insanity of the cycle of violence and the cycle of hatred. Look at the verse. Look at verse 9. Look at verse 9. Happy shall they be who take your little ones and dash them against the rocks. The people of faith by the rivers of Babylon. How shall we sing the Lord's song if I forget thee, O Jerusalem? The people of faith have moved from the hatred of armed enemies, these soldiers who captured the king, those soldiers who slaughtered his sons and put his eyes out, the soldiers who sacked the city, burned their towns, burned the temple, burned their towers. They have moved from the hatred for armed enemies to the hatred of unarmed innocents. The babies, the babies. Blessed are they who dash your baby's brains against a rock. And that, my beloved, is a dangerous place to be. Yet, that is where the people of faith are in 551 BC, and that is where far too many people of faith are in 2001 AD. We have moved from the hatred of armed enemies to the hatred of unarmed innocents. We want revenge. We want paybacks, and we don't care who gets hurt in the process. Now, I asked the Lord, what should our response be in light of such an unthinkable act? But before I share with you what the Lord showed me, I want to give you one of my little faith footnotes. Visitors often give faith footnotes so that our members don't lose sight of the big picture. Let me give you a little faith footnote. Turn to your neighbor and say, faith footnote. I heard Ambassador Peck on an interview yesterday. Did anybody else see him or hear him? He was on Fox News. This is a white man, and he was upsetting the Fox News commentators to no end. He pointed out, you see him, a white man, he pointed out, an ambassador, that what Malcolm X said when he got silenced by Elijah Muhammad was in fact true. America's chickens are coming home to roost. We took this country by terror away from the Sioux, the Apache, the Arawak, the Comanche, the Arapaho, the Navajo. Terrorism. We took Africans from their country to build our way of ease and kept them enslaved and living in fear. Terrorism. We bombed Grenada and killed innocent civilians, babies, non-military personnel. We bombed the black civilian community of Panama with stealth bombers and killed unarmed teenagers and toddlers, pregnant mothers and hard-working fathers. We bombed Gaddafi's home and killed his child. Blessed are they who bash your children's head against a rock. We bombed Iraq. We killed unarmed civilians trying to make a living. We bombed a plant in Sudan to pay back for the attack on our embassy, killed hundreds of hard-working people, mothers and fathers who left home to go that day not knowing that they never get back home. We bombed Hiroshima, we bombed Nagasaki, and we nuked far more than the thousands in New York and the Pentagon, and we never batted an eye. Kids kids playing in the playground, mothers picking up children after school, civilians, not soldiers, people just trying to make it day by day. We have supported state terrorism against the Palestinians and black South Africans, and now we are indignant because the stuff we have done overseas is now brought right back into our own front yards. America's chickens are coming home to roost. Violence begets violence. Hatred begets hatred. And terrorism begets terrorism. A white ambassador said that, y'all, not a black militant. Not a reverend who preaches about racism. An ambassador whose eyes are wide open and who's trying to get us to wake up and move away from this dangerous precipice upon which we are now poised. The ambassador said the people that we are wounded don't have the military capability we have, but they do have individuals who are willing to die and to take thousands with them, and we need to come to grips with that. Let me stop my faith footnote right there and ask you to think about that over the next few weeks if God grants us that many days. Turn back to your neighbor and say, footnote is over. Now, come on back to my question to the Lord. What should our response be right now in light of such an unthinkable act? I asked the Lord that question Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I was stuck in Newark, New Jersey. No flights were leaving LaGuardia, JFK, or Newark Airport. On the day that the FAA opened up the airports to bring into the cities of destination those flights that had been diverted because of the hijacking, a scare in New York closed all 3 regional airports, and I couldn't even get here for Mr. Radford's father's funeral. And I asked God, what should our response be? I saw pictures of the incredible. People jumping from 110th floor. People jumping from the roof because the stairwells and the elevators above 89th floor were gone, no more. Black people jumping to a certain death. People holding hands, jumping. People on fire, jumping. And I asked the Lord, what should our response be? I read what the people of faith felt in 551 BC. But this is a different time. This is a different enemy. This is a different world. This is a different terror. This is a different reality. What should our response be? And the Lord showed me 3 things. Let me share them with you quickly, and I'm going to leave you alone to think about the faith footnote. Number 1, the Lord showed me that this is a time for self-examination. As I sat 900 miles away from my family and my community of faith, 2 months after my own father's death, God showed me that this was a time for me to examine my relationship with God, my own relationship with God, my personal relationship with God. I submit to you that it's the same for you. Folk flocked to the church in New Jersey last week. You know, that foxhole religion syndrome kicked in. That emergency cord religion, you know that little red box you see pull in case of emergency? It showed up full force. Folk who ain't thought about coming to church for years were in church last week. I heard that midweek prayer services all over this country, which are poorly attended 51 weeks a year, were jam-packed all over the nation. The week of the hijackings, the 52nd week, filled with folk. But the Lord said, this ain't the time for you to be examining other folks' relationship. This is a time of self-examination. The Lord said to me, how is our relationship doing, Jeremiah? How often do you talk to me personally? How often do you let me talk to you privately? How much time do you spend trying to get right with me, or do you spend all your time trying to get other folk right? This is a time for me to examine my own relationship with God. Is it real or is it fake? Is it forever or is it for show? Is it something that you do for the sake of the public, or is it something that you do for the sake of eternity? This is a time to examine my own, and a time for you to examine your own relationship with God. Self-examination.